Hello and welcome to Hollywood Impact. This is Zachary, joined by...
I'm Caleb.
And Christian.
So, guys, Gladiator 2.
Gladiator 2.
Just saw it.
What is it? Wait.
What's the general consensus? Just quick little summary.
That was my quick summary.
Okay.
It's serviceable. Like, it's not a bad film. It's not a bad film. But it does have its quirks, for sure.
I think to me it very much seemed just like a cash grab with not a lot of soul behind it. I don't know. Maybe I think it sounds like you might disagree a little bit. I think like I was entertained. I don't think I would call it a good film though.
I see. I get that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go as far as to say it was like a cash grab, but I do understand because I think that given that it's the same director who's directed the first movie and a bunch of other great films, I think that this was maybe a film that they didn't have to do. And so I think that's part of what a lot of people have said negatively about it. Is this movie necessary?
Right.
And I think the blatant answer to that is probably not. But that's not to say it doesn't have merit.
I guess maybe it's not a cash grab because I suppose that has like bad intentions behind it,
but it might be. There's a lot of movies with cash grabs.
It might be a cash grab.
It's not above Hollywood.
I guess maybe it's not. Maybe it's not entirely justified to say that it is, but it definitely does not feel like there was a lot of heart and soul put into it.
It feels way different.
Very hollow.
Yeah.
Very
I think I'm on the same plane. You know, I think it didn't have to be made. It's a decent movie. Certainly better than Joker 2.
Yeah, I agree.
That will be my permanent comparison for the next 3 years, maybe.
Yep.
Joker 2 is the bottom standard.
That's the epitome of disappointment for me.
Sure.
So it's disappointing, but it's just really hard to follow up Gladiator.
That's true. You know, it had a lot writing on it, but even then, like, you know, you're saying that like this movie didn't have to be made. I think I agree it didn't have to be made, but I feel like it could have been made very well.
There's a lot of potential.
There is absolutely a lot of potential. So I don't think it's to say that like it was unnecessary. I just don't think they pulled it off well at all.
They walked the fine line of how much do we want to talk about the first one and pay homage to the first one, and how much do we want to introduce new ideas. And they should have probably leaned more into new ideas and just make it a little more interesting instead of essentially following the same formula with a little new stuff here and there.
Yeah.
And it just didn't totally work for me.
They have a lot of connections to the first film, but not in the ways that I would have liked. After watching the first film, literally the previous night, a lot of the characters that are in this film that are from the first one are characters that I kind of cared less about from the first one, which that was a little bit of a head scratcher. I do like some of the new people they introduced. Pedro Pascal's character is pretty cool. I mean, he's good. I've yet to see him like have a bad performance. I know there's like a Netflix movie out there.
We'll hop on the bandwagon for now.
For now. But no, his role is pretty good. I did hear a lot about Denzel Washington's role in this film. A lot of people said, "Oh, like for no other reason, go and watch this film for his performance. His performance is good." But a lot of people made it seem like it was like groundbreaking. Like this could be Oscar potential, and I don't agree with that.
No.
Sorry. It's a cool role. He's really good in that role, but there's nothing in that movie that stood out to me like, wow, that's like character of the year. That is performance of the year. Like I could probably name 3 or 4 other people before that.
I would say it was an above average performance, which is what you would expect from an actor of his caliber, of course. But I agree. Nothing like Oscar winning.
For sure.
It's he had a couple weird quirks about his character, and it occasionally, like, what are you doing, Denzel? It's just, and this movie oddly had some comedy in it. Not very much, but when it happened, it really stuck out. It's like, I don't know why that's there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so how does it compare to the first one?
I like the first one a lot more.
Yeah.
Actually, little bit of backstory. All right, so I started reviewing films not like on YouTube, but like I started doing that when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
And I had my dad's computer. He and I watched a lot of movies together. That was kind of like a way for us to bond. And there was a few films where we would watch, and I would get on his computer and I would type up a review and like print it out on pieces of paper and have him read it. I didn't show it to anybody else. I don't know if I even still have them. But Gladiator was the first one I ever did.
Wow.
So this is technically the first film was the first movie I ever actually reviewed in my mind. So it sorry, excuse me. It holds a very dear place in my heart. I don't think it's a perfect film. I think it's a solid like 8.5 out of 10 film. But this movie is
stuff in it.
It's a cultural cornerstone for sure.
So as a follow-up, this had a lot of expectations, but the first film also isn't perfect. So they could have had room to grow, and I feel like they fell short on nearly every aspect of the film. Not like bad, but like they just were that short of a mark for almost every aspect except for maybe the visuals.
Right.
So
which that's just modern technology.
Yeah. That's not a thing that you really can go down on.
Yeah.
Because the first one is known for great effects. Yeah. Because it came out in 2000, 2001, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean that is true, but then we have films like Pirates of the Caribbean, whose
really
some of their visuals are better than some of the films nowadays.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of Pirates of the Caribbean, let's talk about the music. I think
the music.
there wasn't anything in this film that really stuck out to my mind music wise, and that seems to be, at least for me, something that I've noticed in a lot of recent films. Is just it's almost like they're just having an AI kind of spit out the basic melody, the basic tune for and then they have an actual composer come in and like tweak it a bit so that it doesn't sound AI made,
Right.
It's just sort of like filler background music that, and not every single song in a soundtrack needs to be something that sticks with you forever.
Right.
But there wasn't a single song in this that really got my heart racing or that really, entrapped me in the moment. Unlike the first movie, they've got multiple scenes, like the one very similar to the Pirates of the Caribbean song, when the troops are getting ready for battle. That sticks out to you. You remember that. When you hear Pirates of the Caribbean, you think to yourself, oh, that sounds just like the Gladiator song because it sticks out to you. But this one, for me, is just kind of generic music,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think it's sad.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because the first film, it's got some good music. And I was searching for the whole movie. I was like, there's got to be a good song somewhere in here. And it's a 2.5 hour movie, long movie. And we're getting to like the 2 hour mark, and I'm like, yeah, I've lost hope.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a great. Like, they near the end, they kind of reuse a song from the first film, and I'm like, you already lost me at this point. You can't win me back. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They definitely mailed it in on the composer.
Agreed.
I don't even know if it was Hans Zimmer. I didn't notice.
I'd be surprised if it was.
I would hope it's not.
Yeah.
Because he's like classic. He always shows
He's like
up.
Pedro Pascal, but for music.
Exactly. I think something about the first movie. My dad, not an avid moviegoer, and not like, his judgment on whether a movie is good or not is much different than ours. He loves the first Gladiator. Like anytime it comes on TV, he will watch it. And first Gladiator is like a slow burn. Not any your basic moviegoer usually leans towards a lot of action, a lot of comedy, and not necessarily that my dad always loves those movies, but like he doesn't go out and watch the Hereditaries of the world, or any any movie.
He's not
Prisoners.
a movie buff.
He doesn't want to watch Prisoners and think, wow, that was incredible.
Right.
But he loves Gladiator, and I think there's just something about it, and this movie just didn't hit it.
No, I agree.
Yeah. How does it hold up to just in general action films?
Well, I will say one of the pros of the movie that I think does come with the modern day visual effects and the camera work and the new technology that we have were the fight scenes. I did actually really enjoy the choreography that they had. There were quite a few scenes where I thought all the moves they had, with the swords and then fighting, even just like the fist-to-fist fights.
Yeah.
All of the fight scenes themselves, super cool. So that's something that I really like action-wise. Aside from that, I mean, that's basically the majority of the action. There are a couple of like intense scenes that I guess you could call action, but fight scenes were good.
Yeah. I wish the opening battle was a little longer, because it was really like
That's pretty short.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is a nice opening battle.
Yeah.
And then it's really, really short.
I really did have high hopes for the movie, just from that battle scene alone.
Yeah.
Because they had, without going into spoiler territory, they had the visuals of the oncoming threat.
Yeah.
And everybody getting ready for the threat, and then the battle itself, super cool. And I agree with you. It was a little short-lived, and I wish that had continued for a bit longer.
I agree, it was good. I feel like I was getting afraid a little bit because I felt like they were kind of rehashing the same story as the first one, because the first one has like, Maximus is like the underdog that no one really knows as Maximus, and like he is like he becomes a captain of these ne'er-do-wells, right? And they kind of did the same thing, and I didn't quite like that, and it was just like, now they're gonna face this undefeated guy, just like the first movie. And then they had a really cool one, which it's not a spoiler. It is in one of the trailers, so I guess extremely light spoilers. But there's a scene with water and ships. Very cool.
That was cool.
It was super cool. I'm not going to say anything else about it, but it was very impressive.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, it's another thing. Like there's so much potential in this movie. They could have raised all the stakes, and they tried to make it more politic-y, but when the first film is not super politic-y, it's very much like a revenge quest. It's very personal and emotional. In the first film, you get really attached to Russell Crowe's character. You feel for him. You're with him on the drive, and you hate Joaquin Phoenix because he's a piece of crap. And
he's weird.
He's weird, but they build up Joaquin's character. They build up why you should hate him. At first, it's like, okay, yeah, he's kind of bad. Then he does something really bad, and then it goes on to, he's just descending into madness.
Yeah.
And it's in this film, I mean, it's completely different. And I feel like there's like 3 villains, and they're all kind of confused. There's a lot of confused plot lines. So I feel like, once again, I'm gonna rehash this thing. Like it's a lot of like similar beats, but missing all the marks.
Yeah.
In almost every way.
That's a great segue to my next question.
Sweet.
The actors' performances. What do we think?
I thought. Yeah. As I already said, Denzel Washington, an above-average performance, as you would expect from an above-average actor. Acting, great. I'll say the main character, I wasn't a huge fan. And I'm not entirely. I don't know that I've seen this guy in any other movies or not.
I was just thinking about that. Actually, I was like,
so.
Who is this guy?
Right. But maybe he isn't a good actor. Maybe they just didn't give him a good script. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy his performance a whole lot.
I really think they picked him because he sounds like Russell Crowe.
Maybe, yeah.
He's got like that deep, gravelly
and like that's
voice.
it.
Right. As for the others, the mother, again, I didn't really care too much about her performance. It wasn't great. The Emperor's maybe passable in some scenes. All in all, and then Pedro.
Yeah.
Pedro's great.
Yeah, Pedro's solid.
Pedro did, again, another above-average performance from an above-average actor. So overall, acting was good from the good actors and kind of meh from everybody else. And I don't know how much of that is because of the actors and how much of that is just because of what they were given.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't think that Pedro Pascal had the best performance of the movie. I think he had a really good performance like most movies he does. So he's consistent, and I love that. Denzel still had the best performance in the movie, but like I said earlier, it wasn't like the Oscar-worthy one that people were talking about, and I was a little disappointed because I was sitting here thinking, where is the moment? Where's the speech? Where's the one like part where I'm like, that's the villain. Like that is like awesome. That is the guy, and it doesn't really come.
No,
and that was a little disappointing.
Yeah, because we can't get too into the turn because of spoilers. But yeah, that section wasn't very convincing.
Right.
As you know, his motivations, like you understand his motivations after that, but you're not like totally bought in.
Correct.
And it's just really, and not out of nowhere, but at the same time, which is also combined with what I think is the two worst acting performances is the Emperor's. They're not. It's fun. Some of it was goofy to me.
Yeah.
Whenever they're like, they act like Joaquin and they're trying to be crazy. And like whenever they yell, to me it just really stands out as like, you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
You do not look like a Roman emperor that's crazy. You look like a dumbass. That's what I thought.
I'll say for a lot of the performances and the storylines that go with them, I don't think any of it seemed like a 180 turn for the character. I don't think any of it seemed like wrong, for any given character, but a lot of it seemed like harsh 90-degree turns.
Yeah.
Not like...
And that's strange for a movie so long.
Yeah.
Like for a 2.5 hour movie and you have a character who just kind of like not turns 180 in a bad way, but turns 90 degrees in a different direction in a small section, like closer to the end, whereas like the first half is kind of a drag. And so I'm like, if you have 2.5 hours, there are so many films where people say this movie could have had 15, 20 more minutes of time to try to flesh out some stuff.
Right.
This one had that time and you chose not to utilize it.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's like the worst thing in the world, but it's noticeable. And that just brings down.
And I think a lot of it is, like, some of it is like very strange 90-degree kind of, not really out of nowhere, but very strange turns, like is the case with Denzel Washington's character. But for a lot of the other characters, it just feels like they didn't give it enough time to develop and cook and stew, and like you said, they just they just didn't utilize the time of the movie very well. It could have been like we've said, a lot of potential for this movie. They just didn't utilize the tools that they had available to them.
Just bad pacing, but also bad pacing with the character development, which is kind of odd. You don't really see that much, or you don't really notice it. Usually when I think bad pacing, I just think of
like the action,
slow scenes, and jumping into a fast scene without like a transition. But the development itself of the characters is oddly paced, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I would not see this in a theater. I think you should wait.
I'd agree with that.
In my opinion.
Yeah, not worth it to see in the theater, because there were multiple times, and since we've started doing these reviews on YouTube, I've noticed I've caught myself in the theater telling myself, "Oh, that's weird." That particular aspect of the movie is weird, and then I'm like, whoa, you can't be in like the super analytical mindset, just enjoy the movie for what it is. But at the same time, I feel like for a good movie, I wouldn't have to tell myself that. For a good movie, there wouldn't be any parts where I notice that and I have to kind of rein myself back in and settle back into the movie.
Sure.
This was a movie where I did have to kind of try and force myself to get into it. So yeah, I agree with you. Probably not worth it to go see it in theaters. Maybe if you were a huge mega fan of the first and you really like Denzel Washington, sure, watch it on streaming. But
I still believe, if you really want to, you should go see this film and make your own opinion on it. I'm a big supporter of, hey, even if a movie's bad, even if we tell you a film is bad, you should be able to choose what you want to do with your time and your money and your opinions, right? So I still feel like this is a movie that is worthy enough to see in a theater, just because I think it's better than some other movies I've seen this year, and I went to the theater to see those. That's kind of how I'm marking it right now. One thing that's nothing to do with the actual movie itself. Right before the movie played, they had Joseph Quinn, Pedro Pascal, and Paul Mescal standing. It's like, thank you so much for supporting us, for watching this on the screen it was meant to. And they had two of them talk, but Joseph Quinn just didn't get to talk, so he just stood there.
This is Joseph Quinn.
kind of look like you, actually.
That's all he did.
He just stood there, and then it went black, and I was like, hold on a second.
We should have known that's what the performance was going to be like.
It's like, oh no. It's like, now we can tell what the favorites were.
We can just leave now, guys.
It's like, that's tough.
They have to thank us for coming to watch the video. Like, we know it's bad. Please, just thank you for staying.
What's your score?
All right, I'm going first. 6.5. I'm going to 6.5. I about gave it a 7 because I would call myself a movie optimist. It's easy for me to be pleased. Pause. And there's
bro.
And I am a person who just enjoys film, even if the film's not great. I love film that much that I'm willing to watch bad films. So I have to kind of like keep myself in check and be like, okay, it's not actually a good film. I think it's a serviceable film. 6.5 screams it out to me.
What do you think?
I'm going 6.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
it's just-
I get it.
Yeah, there are too many times where it just pulled me out, and I thought, oh, that was weird, or that didn't make any sense. It just
Agreed.
overall, I enjoyed just hanging out with you guys and talking about it more than I did the actual movie. So to me,
That's tough.
not worth like five
That's
is
tough
my
'cause it's us we're talking about.
5 for me is like middle of the road, like no positive or negative emotions about it. And this one I was like, yeah, I kind of agree with you, like it has some good aspects, but just barely enough to push it over a 5. So
Yeah. I think I'm with you on a 6.
Yeah.
And I talk about my scales a lot in these reviews. I have different scales where I weigh movies on different curves.
Yeah.
And this is, if I'm thinking critically, comparing it to the first Gladiator, which I also hold like in a critical, like if I'm thinking critically, there's very few 10 out of 10s.
Right.
Just straight up like perfect movies.
Right.
If any, really. And yeah, I think this is a 6 on that,
Yep.
that kind of scale.
right.
Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, as always, we will see you later.